Chapter 6. The House of Children. Kondima sat without moving or saying a word on the Twan's lap during the 25-mile trip into the great seaport town. It seemed a huge city to her, for she had never before been beyond the Blue Mountain. Kondima had often wished to fly. She thought it would be wonderful to have wings like a bird and fly through the air faster than anyone else. Now her wish was fulfilled. The red bus flew over the smooth ribbon of rock at terrifying speeds. Before the journey ended, Kondima decided that she liked buses very much. "Oh, wouldn't I have something to tell Chaya and Mookit," she told herself. "I have flown through the air in this red animal which is like a rolling bird. How their eyes will pop when they hear about this bus." At sundown, the red bus rolled up the street to the Twan's house. Kondima had been so interested in the motions and noises of the bus that she had taken little time to look at anything else. The bus stopped beside a thick green hedge. Twan set her on the ground. Surely this big house couldn't be the home of one family. It must be the council house for the whole village. Then right before Kondima's astonished eyes, the doors of the great house opened. Little boys and girls tumbled out and down the steps. They all ran towards the red bus. "Oh, Daddy," shouted one little boy with yellow curly hair, "did you bring the little girl with the sick eye?" "Uncle, Uncle, where is the little girl?" A large, bright, dark-haired girl raced ahead of the others. The Twan came forward and knelt, his hand still holding Kondima's. The children pounced on him like wild forest creatures. They swarmed over him like eager flies. With much laughing and shouting, the group finally settled down enough so that the Twan could present Kondima. "This is Nancy." The Twan put one arm around the happy, eager, dark-haired little girl who had outrun all the others. "And this is Benny," he said as he tousled the yellow curls of the smallest boy. "And here is June." He smiled at a sweet-faced little girl with hazel eyes and brown hair. "Peter is the last of the small ones." The Twan laughed as a thin little dark-haired fellow hid his face behind Benny. "Jimmy, Madge, and Benny call me Daddy. All the rest call me Uncle," Twan explained. Kondima did not understand, and so many children bewildered her, but she knew that everyone wanted to make her happy. "There are more of them, Kondima." Twan had swept the whole group of small ones into his arms. "Jimmy is coming out the door right now. He is our big boy. Madge and Dorothy are right behind him. They are our big girls." At that moment, Kondima saw a fat baby toddle to the big, long, open window. "That's Aline." Kondima felt herself carried along by the throng of eager children into a big room that seemed to be mostly open veranda. Two tall, smiling women welcomed the two Twans. Kondima knew that they must be the Twans' wives. Dorothy held onto the guru's hand. She must be his daughter. He went at once to pick up the fat baby. Kondima knew now which were the guru's children. What about the rest of them? None of them looked alike, yet some of them must be the Twan's own children. She couldn't remember which. The carriers brought the Bohongans in and took them to some place at the back of the huge house. The Twan sat down in an easy chair. He lifted Kondima to one knee and Peter to the other. June climbed on one arm of his chair while Benny stood up on the other. Nancy had climbed to the back of the big chair and sat on top right behind him with both arms around his neck, her merry face radiant with laughter. "Daddy, can the little girl's eye get well?" Benny drew his face into a deep frown. "It shivers me and it shakes me to see the little girl's eye." "Uncle, will you cut the little girl's hair? It is so long and it hangs over her eyes. She can't see at all." Gentle little June had spoken. "Uncle?" Dark-haired Nancy put her two small hands on both of the Twan's cheeks and turned his face towards herself. "Doesn't the little girl have any pretty dresses? Let me give her some of mine. I have so many." Jimmy and Madge had seated themselves on the floor in front of the armchair group, and the guru sat in another big chair with his children in his arms. A whole flock of questions were in the making. "Suppose we all wait and see what happens," the Twan said. "Wouldn't that be more fun than knowing everything at once?" Small Peter sighed and sucked his thumb a little. He had gotten one of the best places on the Twan's knee. He listened and looked from one to another of the children with smiling brown eyes. Kondima nestled closer in the curve of the Twan's arm. She felt so tired. She could not understand anything the children had said, but she knew that all of them were kind and wished her well. At this moment, Sabriel came in. "Twan," he said with a big smile, "please allow me to keep the little mountain child at my house for the night. She may feel lonesome, and we can speak her language. My wife is waiting for her. Her supper is ready." Then he spoke to Kondima in her own Dusun tongue. He persuaded her to come with him. The Twan always spoke to her in Malay, which she understood, but the language of her mountain village sounded better. She took hold of Sabriel's hand and started off with him. "Good night, Kondima," the children sang out with hearty cheer. The Twan stood up, putting all of them aside. "You stay here," he commanded. "I must see where Kondima is going to sleep and whether she has a blanket and a mosquito curtain." The Twan came along with them to Sabriel's house. Sandolai, Sabriel's wife, met them at the door. "So this is little Kondima, come to stay with us for a few days." The beautiful young woman laid her hands on both of Kondima's shoulders and looked down at her with kind eyes. On a table, plates of hot rice stood with bowls of fragrant vegetables and fish. Kondima suddenly realized that she was starving. Sandolai laughed. Her laugh sounded like a bell. Kondima had heard such a bell once. A Chinese had brought it to the village. Father said it must have been stolen from some great house in the city. But Kondima never forgot the sweet sound. Sandolai's laugh reminded her of the bell. A stool had been placed for her to sit on, and she ate her first meal at the table. At home, everyone sat on the floor to eat. The new arrangement did not bother her at all. She ate a good supper. The Twan went back to his house and brought a bright red blanket with a small mosquito curtain. These Sandolai arranged with a couple of mats into a comfortable bed. It looked good to Kondima, and she tumbled into her blanket while Sandolai tucked the mosquito curtain carefully under the edges of the mat. Kondima didn't think of Mother, Chaya, baby Banny, or anything. She fell into deep, dreamless sleep. A clear, sweet voice wakened Kondima early the next morning, but the voice did not speak to her. She peeked out from the mosquito curtain and saw Sabriel and Sandolai kneeling beside a chair on which rested an open book. Sandolai prayed with her hands clasped together, her face lifted. Kondima had never seen any person so beautiful. She must be like the angels Teacher Dodd tells us about. Then, drawing the mosquito curtain around her, she knelt just like Sandolai. "Dear Jesus, you who love the little children who are sick and ugly, please love me and make me good." She prayed with her whole heart. After breakfast, Kondima followed Sandolai to the back of the big house where the clothes waited to be hung up. Sandoli had washed them earlier that morning while Kondima still slept. "You go and put on one of my sarongs," Sandoli commanded her. "Then bring me that dirty dress. I will wash it for you. You may need it on the boat." Kondima came back in a few minutes with one of Sandoli's blue sarongs tied high under her arms. She carried the dress she had worn down the mountain in her hand. Sandoli took it and put it to soak in a pail of warm, soapy water. Then she began pinning the washed clothes on a wire line with small wooden clips. Kondima had never seen clothes so white. "What makes them so white, Sandoli?" she asked. "Look, Kondima, one must use lots of soap." She held up a thick yellow bar. "One must scrub hard, too, and then the clothes must be rinsed many times in clear water. It is easier to get them white if they are washed in hot water." Last of all, Sandoli washed Kondima's dirty dress. She used her best skill on it and lots of soap. When she hung it on the line beside the other clothes, it still looked darker than anything else. They must have finished breakfast now. Sandola led Kondima to the back door of the big house. Warm-hearted Nancy welcomed her with both arms outstretched. Once inside the door, she saw many things that she had been too tired to notice last night. Toys of many kinds littered the floor. Two small boys pushed a tiny red bus, sputtering and snorting to make sounds like the real bus. Baby Elaine built a tower of bright-colored blocks in a corner of the room. Kondima watched her with fascinated interest. Madge and Dorothy washed dishes in another room where water came out of the wall through a bright thing which would start or stop the water when one of the girls touched it with her hand. A spring right in the house. Kondima stood speechless with wonder. The tall woman who told Kondima to call her auntie sat at a small table. A black whirling thing came up out of the table. Auntie pushed cloth through the swirling thing, and it came out sewed together in close, tight stitches, not at all like the coarse stitches in Kondima's dress, now hanging on the clothesline. The cloth seemed to be squares of beautiful bright colors. Nancy and June sorted the bright pieces from a basket on the floor and handed them to Auntie. "We are making a pillow for you, Kondima." Nancy had discovered that Kondima could understand Malay, so she spoke in that language. "See, it is going to have lots of pretty colors in it. You are going on the big boat to Singapore, and everyone needs a pillow on the boat." Auntie finished the long rectangle and doubled it into a square. She sewed all around 3 sides of it. As she turned it right side out, Madge came in. "Here, Madge, fill it with kapok and sew up the end." Auntie rose from her place at the small table. "Come, little girl," she spoke in Malay, too. "We are going to wash your hair and make it soft and pretty like Nancy's." She took Kondima's hand and led her to the bathroom. Kondima had always bathed at the spring on the mountainside. The bathroom arrangements astonished her, and she turned her head this way and that to see everything. Auntie had a hard time washing her hair and had to call the other auntie to help. They finished the job off with a good soap bath. An hour later, when the warm sun and the wind on the veranda had thoroughly dried Kondima's hair, the Tuan came in. "Now we will trim up the hair a little." He took out a pair of thin, sharp scissors and tied a clean cloth around her neck. When he had finished, Nancy came running with a mirror. Kondima had never looked in a mirror before, and what she saw looked so frightening that she hid her face in the folds of Tuan's coat, and for the first time since leaving the mountain village she cried. "Come now," the Tuan took her on his knee, motioning the repentant Nancy to take the mirror away. Did you see how beautiful your hair looks? It is silky and shiny like Nancy's. Your cheeks are smooth and dimpled, and no child in all the world has a sweeter smile than my little mountain girl. We are going to send you to Singapore, where your eye will be fixed so it will look nice again. Kondima, come with me." Nancy had hid the hateful old mirror and now drew Kondima into the room where the girls slept. She pulled open a drawer and took out a little blue dress. "Let us go to Auntie, and she will try it on you," she said with starry eyes. The dress fit perfectly. Everyone said so, because all the children gathered around to admire it. The little ruffled collar lay close to her throat, and the puffed sleeves set off her smooth brown arms. "Oh, what a beautiful dress! Just wait until Mookit sees it. Even Chaya wouldn't know me now." Kondima smiled in an embarrassment of pleasure. Kondima's surprise had only begun. June came running with a pink dress, and before Auntie had time to try it on Kondima, Nancy came back with a yellow one. All the dresses fit Kondima. She was just the right size and the same age as the two beautiful little girls who belonged to the Tuan. Auntie took down a packing case and fixed 6 little dresses neatly in it. Then Nancy brought a pair of little white pajamas, speckled all over with tiny pink rosebuds. Kondima had never seen any garments so beautiful. She wanted to put them all on at once and wear them, but Auntie said that she had better save them for the hospital. Kondima wondered what a hospital could be like. Madge brought the bright pillow, and Auntie put it in the traveling case. Shoes appeared from somewhere, and a few pretty handkerchiefs. Nancy instructed Kondima in the use of handkerchiefs. "We will put your red blanket in tomorrow before you go," Auntie said. The guru's wife decided that Kondima should wear a little red and white checkered dress for the boat. Each dress had panties of the same material. Kondima begged to put the new dress on right now. She rolled Sandola's sarong into a tight ball. She smoothed the skirt of her red and white dress. "Am I not one of the Tuan's children now?" she asked herself. Sandola came in with Kondima's clean dress over her arm. She cried out with delight over the changed appearance of her small friend. Kondima exclaimed over the new look of her old dress. "You can wear it to sleep in on the boat," Sandola said. The rest of the day Kondima played in the big house. The games all took her in. The picture books, the tricycle, the swings, all the other toys were hers to enjoy and play with as much as she wished. Kondima felt at home. She knew that this house belonged to all the children, no matter what their race or color. When everyone gathered for evening prayers, Kondima sat on the Tuan's knee, but she could look out and see the full moon rising clear and golden in the sky. The song the children sang rang out with fresh sweetness in the evening calm. Homesickness began to press her heart. "Uncle, we are making Kondima sad." Nancy patted the little brown hand. "Let's pray now, and then we will play bear." The game of bear, in which the Tuan began a huge raging beast, excited Kondima so much that when Sabriel came to take her to bed, he found her laughing and shouting as loud as the others. "Will there be a house of children like this in Singapore, do you think?" Kondima asked Sabriel as she held tight to his hand in the dark. "Not likely," he answered. "There is no other house like this. But you will find kind people there, and they will make your eye new again. Then you will be as pretty as the Tuan's little girls." It wasn't because Ellen was pretty that people loved her. Kondima stood right in front of Sabriel as they entered the lighted house. "What are you talking about, child?" Then Kondima told Sabriel and Sandola the story of the little girl who had been hit in the face by a stone. Slow, understanding smiles spread over their faces. Yes, Sandola put both arms around Kondima. We know that story, too. True goodness and not beauty make people loved. We pray that you will be a good, sweet girl always. Then you will be happy and people will love you, too. Kondima cuddled under her red blanket with a double prayer and a double wish, that she might be as good as the Tuan and as beautiful as Sandola.